We are no longer physicians. We're providers.
Ask your baby's permission.
Gay people, you have become a product. Should auto insurance cover STD? Are you freaking kidding me? So you demean us. You don't get a parade for a sexual preference. To not hurt the feelings of somebody with a fraction of my training. That a beaver's ass presented this to the world. It's a natural flavor. But you are literally an Ice Cube in a martini show character. Oh, hang on here.
Gotta like that feedback from your phone.
Wow, that was terrifying, actually.
It was like looking, you know, when you look in a mirror in a hotel and they have mirrors on either side and you look to your left and you could see yourself on the right and it's like Russian dolls on steroids. That's what that sounded like.
Crazy. We'll get back to that later.
Anyway, if you couldn't hear that, I'm glad. Welcome to PS EST, Doctales with Cocktails on a Wednesday night, early on the Pacific Standard on the East Coast.
Well, yeah, because we have to get to bed early so that we can be awoken at 3 a.m. by 70-mile-an-hour winds.
And what's coming tonight? Not Santa.
Hurricane is coming to town. Actually, we're only going to get tropical storm level winds, not hurricane level winds. So, whatever.
We are up hunkered down and we have so much food. I could feed the whole neighborhood.
Yes, and it's going to be here for one day.
I know.
Like maybe 12 hours. So,
well, we're set for the rest of the month. All right. Well, welcome to the loosey-goosey show of the week. We call Doctales with Cocktails, where we share a little beverage. We are drinking different things, and I can't wait to share. And also, Tim usually has some crazy and outrageous stories of the week, supposedly with a medical bent to them. Not always. And I don't know. Other than that, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, we're going to do something called the Unfriendly Skies because, well, here it is. I'll just show it because I can't. Okay. So
I think I know what's coming because we were researching some of this a while ago on a flight with some of the
medical
mishaps on board.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We are actually, the Unfriendly Skies is like literally the hurricane stuff.
Ow.
Yes. And I did a lot of research.
No, you got to do the medical mishaps in the air.
Well, we did that already. We already did that. You forgot.
There's always more.
Yeah, well, you got to, they get less weird and then they're not funny. It's like, that's the problem.
Sounds like some of the other stuff we do.
When it gets less weird, it's not funny. But anyways, so I started going down the hurricane rabbit hole, and it's quite interesting what you find, which is why, first of all, why do they name hurricanes?
To keep track of them?
No, because it's efficient.
Well, isn't that kind of what I said? Like to keep track of them so that you know which storm was what? And
that's exactly what it is. Because like if you look back through history,
I don't mean tracking them. I mean like to keep. Yes.
If you look back through history, it's
instead of numbering them.
It's actually really interesting because what ends up happening is they have a storm and it was in 1928 and they just call it Storm in Galveston or wherever
on whatever date.
1928, and it's like nobody knows what it is. Whereas when they name them, it's actually super efficient. And we haven't been naming hurricanes until 1954.
Interesting.
And the interesting thing about it is there's 21 names a year, and they have 21 different names a year for 6 years, and then they go back to the first on the list. So they recycle all of the names.
So you could say Hurricane Andrew over and over, and no one would know
you can't. And the reason you can't is because if it causes more than $1 billion worth of damage, they retire the name so as not to remind people of how
So if you're
sucky it was to be stuck
you're
on the roof
$100
of your
million
house.
damage, you're just not worthy enough to
You're-
hang on
no.
the wall and have your
Name
jersey
retired.
retired in the
Right.
hurricane
And there's
alley.
a ton of names retired, right? Because of that.
Well,
And
Andrew,
Andrew, Katrina, Harvey. And so then it's interesting. I started going down the rabbit hole of, so then they got the retired names, like since they started naming. And,
right.
And some years, lots of years have nothing because there was nothing. And then there's like 1955, there was 4 retired names: Connie, Diane, Ione, and Janet. And this is before they had male names. They didn't have male names until 1978. So the first Atlantic hurricane with a male name was in 1979.
I heard a rumor that they used to name them hurricanes female and like tornadoes male or cyclones. Is that right?
No, because that gets to another piece of the puzzle. Is what's the difference between a hurricane, a typhoon, and a cyclone? And
depends what part of the world you're in.
No,
or the hemisphere.
No, it doesn't. It partially does, but it doesn't. So how it works is if you are in the southeastern United States, it's hurricanes. But
if you're in
the
Philippines, it's
what
a
they
typhoon.
The standard name, the generic name for a tropical storm that turns is called a tropical cyclone. And then if you're in the southeastern part of the Atlantic here, it's a hurricane. If you're in the northwestern, so like if there was a hurricane, a tropical cyclone that hit Seattle, it would be called a typhoon. And then if you're in the Indian Ocean and everywhere else, it's just a tropical cyclone.
That's right. Wasn't that what I said by location?
Partially, but partially because the generic name
in the North Atlantic.
Yes.
North Pacific and East North Pacific. Typhoons are in the Northwest Pacific.
Yeah. So they're very, very unusual, right? Like would it be a typhoon or a tropical cyclone in Hawaii? Like, is Hawaii far enough south? I think it's far enough south that it doesn't get to have a typhoon.
And cyclones occur in the Indian Ocean and South Pacific.
Right. But the generic name, if you're a weatherman, is a tropical cyclone. And then
cyclones get weaker when they hit land, apparently.
Everything gets, yes. Yeah, hurricanes, they lose all their steam because they're sucking the energy out of the hot water.
That's true.
And so when they don't have hot water.
Well, now there you go. Everybody just got their geography lesson.
So you know how they have categories, like category 1, category 2.
Moving right along.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. What's that category scale called? It's called,
I don't know,
the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale. And to be a hurricane, you have to have 74 miles an hour of wind sustained. So it has to be 74 miles an hour for at least a minute, up to 95. Category 2 is 96 to 110. Category 3 is 110 to 129. Category 4 is 130 to 156. And category 5 is 157 miles an hour and above. And they think Hurricane Helene, when it hits what is called the Big Bend of Florida, which is literally the armpit, like where the curves, and you go from the peninsula of Florida to the panhandle of Florida, that it will be a Cat 4 when it hits. So that is like 130 mile an hour winds. They think that there might be up to 20 feet of storm surge, which is completely
bonkers. All right. So what are the medical effects of hurricanes? Any thoughts?
Well, there's lots of medical effects, and most of them are based on the fact that you're stuck in your house and you can't leave.
Apparently, they say that there's evidence that rising stress brought on by hurricanes increases the risk for adverse cardiovascular diseases and events, including hospitalization from coronary heart disease and stroke. Just freaking out about the hurricane, the stress being through it, as well as obviously drowning due to floodwater, various injuries people climbing ladders to put their
Yep.
shutters on.
That's a bad one. If you have a 2-story house without impact windows and then you climb your ladder in, 50-mile-an-hour winds, bad things happen.
Carbon monoxide poisoning after a power outage. Wouldn't think about it. That's a big deal.
But you know what? If you were without power in South Florida long enough, that would probably be an amazing way to go rather than being cooked in your air conditioner free house.
Yeah.
Again, not medical advice. I'm just, stating facts.
Now, infection.
Yes.
Can also occur.
Yes. I think infection is probably underrated.
Just think about all the diseases.
Well, and think about all the crummy water.
No, so I'm talking about diseases in that sewage water floating around. That's probably the main thing is the crap water, as well as, scrapes and cuts and injuries. But what happens? And then post-storm exposure to mold. You would never think of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. But here's the thing. That's a good segue.
There's a lot of mold around here.
The thing
I'm
that's
always
fascinating.
cleaning it off of our sink.
When I was doing my hurricane research, it's really fascinating. And I just discovered something, which is if you look at the 30 deadliest U.S. mainland hurricanes, so not worldwide, just in the United States. Number one was I knew this one, was the Great Galveston Hurricane of 1900. So Cat 4, it killed, they think, 8,000 people. But who knows? Like if you had, you factor in disease and, all these other things, who knows how many more. The second one was Lake Okeechobee in Florida in 1928, also a Cat 4. And it was about 2,500 people. This is where it gets crazy. The third most lethal hurricane in the United States was Katrina in 2005, 1,200 people, which is, 2005 compared to 1900 and 1928, completely different world, completely different ability. And it still killed 1,200 people, which is just staggering. And it begs the kind of, not the question, but it's fascinating because for how violent these storms are, they actually don't kill that many people. They just break a lot of stuff. So that's really what it comes down to. They're not, if you use your head, they're not particularly lethal, but they're unbelievably damaging to insurance companies. Yes. So Katrina did, in real money, about $116 billion in damages. And Harvey is number two. Harvey was the one that basically got to Houston and just sat there and flooded everything in Houston. And that did $62 billion. So Katrina was just a staggeringly massive disaster. When you kind of put it into real life terms, and again, part of it was the wind event, but the stuff that really, really does damage is water. It's just absolutely amazing. So I'm going to show you what water does, because we had Hurricane Debbie come through, and it was not a direct blow, so we didn't get as high winds, but we got tons of rain, and I'll show you what it does. So the first question, or the first picture here, is this is Siesta Key.
So beautiful.
Just unbelievably amazing. And, here's an aerial view on a busy weekend. The white sand beaches on the Gulf Coast of Florida are absolutely unbelievable.
Crystal blue water.
And then look at what happens. And this is from our friend, Jeff Gallatin at Drone Pro Films. Watch this.
Okay. For those of you that just heard a
If
bunch
you're
of
listening
noise,
to that on your way to work,
we're
it's
sorry.
just wind. Yeah, it's awesome.
But we got the point.
It was
And
completely
I can't
buried.
believe that he was out there risking his life for that video footage.
Well, he was. I mean, it
Oh.
wasn't that windy. It was windy. It wasn't that windy,
Yes.
but it was amazing.
All that water. That's the thing.
You go back. You go back to this picture, right here, and it was all underwater.
Yeah,
like 100% underwater.
And then it's always yucky afterward. It's all churned up. There's backwash of sewage and overflow, and it makes it nasty. And I haven't been in the ocean for a long time because of the effects of this last storm. So I don't know. I'm still thinking about the worst one I've been in was when I was in the Philippines and I got stuck on Boracay.
From a storm?
Because a typhoon came in and I couldn't get on the ferry to get off. And it was very, very windy. It was just like in that video you just showed us. It was quite frightening. Yes. Anyway, there is also apparently some really weird things people will experience with the storms, like the changing barometric pressure can obviously bring about like sudden drops. So you get migraines, sinus pain, vertigo, ears popping, all that kind of stuff. Headaches are common. Man, I used to get weather change, migraines, even just from living in Oregon, let alone this storm. What else was I going to say? Apparently, the other things you want to be careful with too is drinking water, because a lot of times.
Well, that's why you don't drink water. That's why you hang on. That's why you
flood water can contaminate
right
the tap water sources, the drinking water sources, and so they usually notify you. But you have to be very careful.
You have to be prepared
to pay attention to see if there's any notifications about boiling your water.
And you have to have,
in this case,
not just one,
Tim has stocked up
but two
these glass bottles
of these glass bottles of vodka from Kirkland. Thank you. Costco.
You've sterilized the water. I see.
It is. It's sterilized water.
Is that what you're drinking tonight?
Yeah, the Kirkland vodka is
mine.
Absolutely
All
spectacular.
Right. Since we are sharing, this is mine. If you can get it locally here or anywhere, I'd say hop in your car now if Costco's open. This is 98 point red wine, Vinum Italicum Opera from 2021. It's on sale and is one of the best Italian wines I've had in a long time. And Costco's, I think they're selling it for $11 for this fine bottle. So full-bodied, a little fruity.
These gigantic ones are only $13.
This is what I'm drinking.
It's awesome.
The Tenazzi.
Okay, well, I think we've blown the hurricane story out of the water.
Yeah, I think you've blown it up.
I think so. So the next story, I honestly, it's one of these things that makes me believe that we're living in a matrix or something like. And so in my tribute to the CDC, we call this section Safe and Effective. I love that bumper so much. I want to watch it again. It's so good. So check this out. So I am scrolling through Instagram and the CDC posts this, which is a gigantic mushroom cloud.
In a radiation emergency.
What to do in a radiation emergency. And I'm like, if it's the mushroom cloud causing radiation emergency, then you should just put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Because the world you're going to inherit after that is not going to be worth living in.
So it would be like Fallout.
It would be, that it would be as good as Fallout. It won't be as good as Fallout. It will be way, way, way worse. If you survive it, it's like you're eating what? I guess Cheetos, because Cheetos would survive a nuclear.
So what's on
Okay.
that page on the CDC with the radiation?
Well, if you scroll through it, it's like, it's a
I've
bunch of
looked a
like,
long time
you
ago.
know, how you get checked out, and well, I can't remember. It's just completely insane because the experts have lost their minds.
Is it like health and safety precautions?
Yeah, if you get a radiation exposure, and it shows an atomic bomb from the CDC, and I'm like, do they know something we don't know? Just like last week when we talked about how maybe not voting for the candidate that wants to start World War III would be an enhancement this year, but whatever. Okay, so the fact is, these government experts are wacky, but they've been wacky forever. So I am going to show a 1-minute edited clip from almost 75 years ago about what you do if you see the atomic bomb blow up.
Well, that makes sense for back then.
It doesn't make sense ever. So check this out.
Remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know this. No matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do. Duck and cover. First, you duck. And then you cover. You duck and cover tight. Duck and cover under the table. It's a bomb. Duck and cover.
He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you. Duck and cover.
And what is that going to do for you when the atomic bomb
Put your head
flashes?
between your legs if you're a boy or if you're a lass, and then just kiss your ass. Good. Government experts have been morons since they invented governments, clearly. But I will defend them because if you are in where, like, ground zero, you just vaporize. There's no duck and cover. There's just, I'm just misty.
Right.
There's nothing. But if you are in the shockwave zone, so where you literally, like, Paul and Patty saw the flash and you covered yourself, what happens is the shockwave throws so much debris, especially if you're in a building where the overpressure explodes all the windows, it can actually save your life by doing that. But it's so insane to watch that. They're having a picnic.
I know. They're out of this sitting out.
And the flash of an atomic bomb goes off. And they take the picnic, blanket and throw it over their head and start singing duck. And it gets so happy. Duck and cover.
It is. It's so
And
happy.
if you survive, you're going to have a third nut and really bad cancer. Like, it's so insane. But the
It's
most
not like we
insane
haven't
part.
seen repeats of that kind of advice.
No, but that's exactly the point. Because, but again, it goes like the most insane part of that advice is the assumption. And the assumption is you would want to survive an atomic attack. That A, it's survivable, and B, the world you inherit would be one that you want to live in with your, like, scalded skin, lymphoma, and 3 nuts. Like, it's just so unbelievable. It's the assumption, right? It's like, it's not like, look, avoid this because we're all going to die. But I get why they do it. It is propaganda, period. We have to make people are absolutely scared out of their minds of an atomic attack. So we have to do something to chill them out. So we'll do duck and cover. That's what it is, right? It's exactly what happened in the last 4 years. Little tiny virus, 31,000 base pairs. It's going to go screaming through any kind of face covering you put on. but we got to look like we give a shit and we're doing something to help prevent the spread of something, whatever. That's all it is. It's the same. We went through 4 years of duck and cover. That's what this is. Like everyone looks back at this from, it's almost 75 years ago now and goes, this is completely insane. We're going to duck and cover against an atomic attack. Yes. Well, we just freaking duck and covered for the last 4 years.
Mhm.
It's the same dipshits giving you the same bad information. It's called propaganda. But when you put it to a catchy tune and you have
That was
Paul
the
and
best.
Patty, like it's stuck in my head. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night when the storm hits at 3 a.m. and I'm going to check some stuff outside and I'm going to be like, duck and cover.
Let's hope we don't have to do that. Let's hope not.
Patty's my lover. I mean, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. But we see the same thing over and over and over again.
What else you got?
Nothing. Just I have a couple.
The guest of the week.
We have the guest of the week and we have the meme of the week. What do you want to do first?
Well, bring us the meme.
Okay, here we go. All right. How did you? So it's like that. I don't even know how to describe
I
that.
thought you
meme
were going
character.
to show the bent carrot commercial again.
No, we'll get to that. We're at half an hour. We'll do it next week. We're going back and doing the bent carrot commercial next week, unless something else comes up that's more pertinent. How did you know to question their health advice? It all started when I got a ticket for no seatbelt from a guy on a motorcycle. Absolutely brilliant memeing, but that is actually the truth. Like when you think of that, it's just like, well, you got to wear your seatbelt in case you get in a car wreck. Yeah, but dude, you're riding. It's like where was I this last week? And we're at the football game. Oh yes, let's talk about that for 1 second. But
yes, let's talk about the medical events that one can sustain.
Well,
or not sustain, one can acquire when you're in the heat stroking like temperatures.
if you go
of a
to
football
Raymond James
game.
Stadium in September and you're sitting in the 300 level like we were and you're out of the shade, it is literally a spiraling
out of the
fiery
shade? Mean it.
Yeah, we're out of the shade.
Sorry, yes, out of the shade.
Spiraling fiery vortex to the third bowel of hell. That was so hot. I had a beer.
How hot was it?
This is how hot it was. I had a beer and the top of the beer was like dark green. And I drank most of it and I put it in the little thing and I was watching the game and I went to pick it up and I touched the top of the beer and you could almost not touch it. That's how hot it was.
Did you burn your lips on the metal can?
I did not burn my lips, but I almost burnt my hand.
Well,
and I burnt my skin.
Heat exhaustion.
Yes, May got heat exhaustion.
And it was right after we got up there. Literally, we'd been standing outside for an hour before the game started at the crack of noon. So it was high sun. And then, I'm hydrating, drinking water. That's all I was drinking. Sit down. We ate. All the blood went to my intestines to digest the food. None in my brain. Everything else was vasodilating to keep me cool. And I'm sure my blood pressure was 80 over 40 and I was super hot.
Well, yeah. And then you're on those super steep stairs because we're probably at the highest point in the state of Florida, which doesn't say much.
Pretty much. So yeah, I had to seek shade for like a full 2 quarters.
Yes. Which was good because the Bucks got destroyed by Denver.
But
so
there's a lot of people that were pretty hot. And then of course you throw in all those people drinking and getting dehydrated. I wonder how many medical events they have at those things. What else were you going to say about the football game?
No, it was, the Ducks played like complete dog crap, but it was fun.
It was like being thrown into a lobster boil.
No,
I'm not going to do that again.
No, it was crazy. Like
very hot.
Like, it makes you appreciate. People go,
my first NFL game, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like people go, why is hockey so popular in South Florida? Because it's 65 degrees in the hockey rink,
Because you get to wear
and
a
it's
hoodie.
an amazing game.
You get to wear
and
jeans and a hoodie.
And you can wear jeans and a hoodie and not wish you were dead or get struck by lightning.
Yeah.
That's why. Plus, nobody's from here. So everyone here is from someplace that has hockey. So then they adopt the local hockey, and it's unbelievably popular.
So what did that to do with the motorcycle
What motorcycle?
in the meme of the week about the cops?
Oh,
the
nothing.
seatbelt,
Has
and then
absolutely nothing to do with that. No, the whole
Then
point
your
is
brain went to the football game.
right. No, the whole point is that you know they're giving you a ticket to protect yourself from yourself, right? And look, should you wear seatbelts? Yeah, probably like a no-brainer decision. But why is it a law? Like if you're so dumb that you're not going to wear a seatbelt and protect yourself, it's not a law that protects you from doing something to somebody else.
Send your tax dollars to paying for everybody's
It's not
medical.
no. Let's open this. Let's go down this rabbit hole just a little bit. Why are seatbelt laws a law? There's a reason, and it has nothing to do with the public good. Well, it sort of has to do with the public good, but why are seatbelt laws a law? It's real simple, right? Like if the libertarian argument is something should only be a law if it protects other people. So if you want to smoke weed and go to bed stoned every night, if you don't wake up all hungover,
because
that impairs you and you drive your car into a busload of, Amish children, then it shouldn't be a law. Okay. That's the libertarian principle.
Seatbelts save lives.
No, seatbelts save insurance companies.
Exactly.
That's why it's a law. They don't give 2 seconds of crap about whether it kills people. Killing people is actually cheap from a social welfare perspective. Dead people don't require health care. They don't need food stamps, blah, blah, blah. But disabled and dead people cost auto insurance companies a ton of money. So there's a seatbelt law because it saves insurance companies money. Now, why is there in most of the United States no motorcycle helmet law? The answer is because it doesn't do a damn thing. That's why if you're going to crash on a motorcycle, it wasn't like he would have been fine with his quadriplegia, his 2 broken femurs, his flail chest, and then the helmet would have saved him. No, probably not.
There's a few stories you hear with the helmet, but
for sure. For
the most part.
The main reason I wear a helmet in Florida is because at 70 miles an hour, I don't want to get hit with a dragonfly between my eyes on my gigantic forehead and split my skull open from a dragonfly. So yes, that part makes sense. But this idea that motorcycle helmets, I'm going to come right out and say there's no evidence that motorcycle helmets save lives. There's also probably no evidence that they don't. Because how are you going to study that? Let's do a randomized controlled study where we put fake helmets on people. That's right. You can't do that. So, they tried to study this.
Did they look at it retrospectively, though?
Well, they did.
They decrease rates in head injuries and fatalities with the law. You don't know?
I don't know. I mean, I think intuitively, if you look at motorsport, which is very instructive in this, clearly it makes a difference in a certain kind of crash. So if you are on a racetrack where you slide off of the racetrack, that is something we're in a controlled environment where all of the body armor and the helmet absolutely clearly saves your life and saves you from significant morbidity.
Right. That's a different environment than
that's the problem. That's the problem. On the street, it's not coming off the motorcycle that kills you. It's what you hit when you come off of it. So it's smashing into a car, it's sliding into a pole, it's all of that stuff. And that's they have these jackets now where if you come off the bike, it's like an airbag. Like your vest blows up and you kind of bounce around, which is fine if you're going 80 miles an hour in the middle of Montana on I-90 and somehow, swerve to miss a piece of angle iron, which I have literally done, and you come off the thing and it blows up and you bounce around, yes, that's probably good. The problem is in motorcycle accidents, you fall into things. You don't want to fall into anything. That's bad. Don't fall into things. That's why motorcycle, MotoGP tracks have tons of gravel and slide off areas, because when these guys know how to fall, and when they come off, they slide on the leather, they roll around, they bump their head a bit, and they're fine.
A graceful landing.
Yes. Who is on the show tomorrow?
Well, it's a returning guest extraordinaire.
Could have him every month, honestly.
Such
He's
a well-spoken,
guy.
intelligent, eloquent attorney. Ryan Heath is back to share with us some updates on what he's been working on. He is the founder of the Desiree popped at some info and I started reading it. He is the founder of the Gavel Project. It's a nonprofit organization. And he is...
Look at him zooming out. Look at the power I have.
Sharing some of the medical cases he's been working on, some of the political ones. And the Gavel Project is an amazing nonprofit organization that has helped with all kinds of cases in post-COVID world, child trafficking, I believe, as well as it's really about advocating for children's rights and helping the kids. So check out that episode.
Because I believe the children are the future.
Check out the episode.
Teach them well and let them lead the way.
And
don't take Xanax and alcohol in a bathtub. Sorry, too soon.
Such great parting advice. Wow, way to wrap that up.
Sorry, I'm bad. It's like every time I hear Tom Petty, he's so gifted, and I hear the song "Free Falling" at work, and I can't. I'm a demented, twisted person, and I hear "Free Falling into Fentanyl."
Wow,
that's bad.
Your brain goes places that I have no idea how it gets there, but it does. So in that note, I'm ending this. Until next time. Before you push the button and pull the plug, I just want to tell everybody to please, because we don't do it often enough, to check out our show on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, Apple. It is on YouTube and Rumble. And we would love it if you could just write a review. Give us 5 stars.
Even if the review is, wow, that's enough.
Someone's done that, I think.
Yes.
But it helps the show get out there. Helps Tim get more speaking gigs.
I took my friend, I was at work, and one of my coworkers had enjoyed the show. So I said, give me your phone. And I went into the thing and I wrote,
that's
only Jesus, the great physician, is a better doctor than Dr. Tim Hindmarsh.
Oh, wow. You wrote that as a review?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Oh
my God.
It's so fun. I love that. So if anyone else wants to put that out there, completely open source as far as I'm concerned.
And there you have it. That's your calling for this week. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.